Hey, it's Jamie. Just wanted to talk about my case study, and I selected case 17.1. Let me give you the client's name is Della Corbin. She's 72 years old, Caucasian, and she's widowed. Just some looking to assess her for a possible nursing home placement. She was admitted to the hospital 2 days ago. Her husband passed away about a year ago. She has family, children, a son that lives out of state and a daughter that lives about 6 hours from her. She has some friends from church that have, a close friend that says that she's been in good health until she moved into an apartment house following her husband's death. So the first question, whom else would I want to talk to? I think that I would definitely want to try to talk to the admitting doctor if that was possible, if that's different than the doctor who's taking care of her now, because I think I could get a good idea of maybe what he or she was thinking upon admission. I'd want to talk to the nurses that have been caring for her. I noticed that a nurse's aide is the one who's feeding her, a nurse's assistant. And while she can give me some, good observations, I would also like to speak with the nurse that is in charge of her. These friends that are mentioned in the intake would be helpful if I could speak to any of them just to see, how long this has been going on, if it's something that's, onset in the last 1 or 2 days, or has it been going on for quite some time. Her children, if they've had a lot of contact with her, it's unclear in the intake how involved they are in her life, so it might be good to talk to them. And then it says that she lives in an apartment house, so whatever that definition is, maybe there's a landlord or someone that lives close to her or around her that would be helpful to speak to. Just trying to think of people that are in her environment that could give, since she's not very responsive and receptive of what's going on, just to kind of give some background information. And then if I was looking back at the way the interview went, would there be anything I'd change, done differently? The only thing, as I read the interview, maybe just try to engage more in those sporadic conversations. Like there was an example that she was talking about wanting her bathrobe, and Miss Corbin said that, initially she asked for a Coke, but then she went into needing her bathrobe and talked about decorating a Christmas tree, and it's, it sounds like that, if I'm the social worker, that I just kind of skipped all of that and just, again, asked about the Coke, like I didn't even address what she had said. And so just maybe like trying, because I should be trying to kind of calm her down at this time, and she's very aggressive. So maybe, like engaging in that, maybe asking, why, just talking about the tree and talking about decorating Christmas, and, maybe just trying to find that place where she can come back to more of a reality. Might be helpful. It might not have helped at all. She might have just still blown it off and not picked up on anything, but it could have been something that, that grabbed her attention. I don't know if talking about her husband would be a good thing or not, if that would be something that would send her over the top, or, but maybe asking her some questions like, does she realize that he's gone? Things like that. But I noticed later the social worker, said, it tried to reassure Mrs. Corbin about her birds and that her son was taking care of them, and she kind of did calm down after that. Even though she wasn't completely engaged, she did kind of calm down. So maybe just like talking to her about those, the things that she's bringing up, just trying to talk to her about those might help. Some diagnoses that I might rule out, I think just initially, like just jumping to dementia or Alzheimer's is not, the best way to go, just because I don't have any history. I don't have any documentation saying that she has had those things. I mean, she very well could have that, and or could be the beginnings of it, this could be the start of it. But just to jump in and say, I think she definitely has dementia or definitely has Alzheimer's, I don't think would be the right thing to do right in this moment. A possible, maybe like a preliminary diagnosis might be delirium or an unspecified delirium. In the DSM-5, she fits a lot of the criteria for delirium. I think the B in the list is the only one that she doesn't necessarily fit, and it's just because there's just not that, the information isn't there. So the criteria for delirium would be all of these. A disturbance in attention, which she definitely has, and an awareness. She's not aware of what's going on. Has reduced orientation to her environment. Doesn't have good focus or shift attention, well, or anything like that. But the second criteria is the disturbance develops over a short period of time. So that's just a little bit unclear about, exactly when that's developed. I mean, she's been in the hospital for 2 days, but it's unclear, did it start, is that what brought her into the hospital? Has it been ongoing, that kind of thing. The third criteria is an additional disturbance in cognition, and examples are memory deficit, disorientation, which she definitely has, her perception, her language, those kinds of things. The fourth is the disturbances of the first and second criteria are not explained by like pre-existing established conditions. She's not in a coma or anything like that, which those are all true. I don't have any knowledge if she has anything else that's pre-existing. And then the fifth criteria is there's evidence from history, physical examination, or laboratory findings that the disturbance is a physiological consequence of another medical condition, substance intoxication or withdrawal. And so the doctor's ordering tests to rule out lead poisoning. In the elderly, urinary tract infections can cause them to be aggressive and angry and disoriented and things like that. So just maybe ruling out some of medical conditions if it's linked to anything like that, then those could all fit. On page 597 of the DSM-5 diagnosis code 293 talks about delirium due to another medical condition or delirium due to multiple etiologies, just meaning that there's other conditions that could be going on. And then, it seems like that she's very hyperactive in how she's acting. But if all of the criteria were not met for just a delirium diagnosis, maybe unspecified delirium, just because, if everything wasn't met and it still seemed along those lines. So those are just maybe like a preliminary diagnosis that, as I looked through the DSM-5, that kind of struck me. And then the last part of the case study is psychosocial cultural factors listed as Z codes. And let's see, I found a couple. V60.3, which as a Z code would be Z60.2, problems related to living alone. I think that that would be a really good one, just because she does live alone, and it's really unclear, like if there's a landlord or someone that lives close to her, so she lives alone, and how is she taking care of herself? How are things going at home by herself? Is she doing all that on her own, and how's that going? So I think that could definitely be a factor. Then V60.9, which as a Z code is Z59.9, unspecified housing. Again, what are her living conditions? Is it good? Is it bad? That kind of thing. And it's not something specific, so it's unspecified. Another one might be V61.10, which is a Z code is Z63. Relationship distress with a spouse. So, her husband's passed away, so that could be their distress there. And then also V62.89, which is Z60.0. Even though I didn't talk about someone passing away as a phase of life, maybe this could be a phase of life that she's going through, and just, her needing to adjust. So those are just a couple of V and Z codes that I thought were appropriate for Mrs. Corbin. And with that, I conclude my case study. Thank you.